And they're sitting in 20th, so a lot of pressure on them of how well they can execute. During this run, they'll see exactly where they are in the standings because everyone's out there, but once they get to those back squats, man, it's a free-for-all. They will not be able to have any idea what the other teams are doing, so standings matter here.
We did have cuts last night. We dropped 7 teams off coming into today, and we did see a flip on the event before the cuts where someone on the outside, Blueprint, did jump in. So keep an eye on the jockeying for those standings. You can see Invictus is out towards the front here right off the top.
And that's it, you know, when they're all out there running together. We've seen team runs in the past, and really the only thing that they have to do is hold that rope and run together. So you're limited by your slowest athlete. But here's what gets interesting. It's a race because when these guys get back into the stadium or into the field, they have to do the handstand walking. So the only way you can make up time if you have a slow person on their hands is to push your slow person on the run that second time you go out. So this first run is really a little bit of separation because when they come back to the field, there will be 4 teams that will be going down the line in a lane. So a lot of tight, not a lot of room for your handstand walks, and it's going to be a conga line style, so I expect that portion to get a little messy. So it would definitely behoove these teams to get out in front and get ahead just to make sure that they can have a little more space on the field.
CrossFit Holistic right now is in the lead, and we talked about the international influence Amanda did just before the start of this event. Of all the European teams that have been most successful in the CrossFit Games, there's never been a podium finisher, but the Swedish teams have been the best ones. For whatever reason, CrossFit Holistic out of Luleå in Sweden adds their name to that legacy. There's Invictus, Jorge Fernandez at the front with the rope in his hand, Brittany Weiss just behind him. Jockeying back and forth with Holistic.
This is just really early, though, in a 1.5 miles. That's a longer distance run. So, you know, also looking at this, Joel, the athletes there's no need to pass right now. This is really all about just staying under control, keeping that heart rate, just kind of managing where you're at, getting a look at the course. It will be 2 laps around this entire course. So get this first lap under. And then, you know your capabilities of your teammates for the handstand walks. So the only reason where I expect to see a little bit of push is if you know you're going to need to give your athletes more, or your teammates more time on the field.
It's funny you said there's really no need to pass, but on that last tight turn, it looked like Holistic was going for one.
I don't know, I mean, I really don't know another time in games history when running and racing hard in the first 400 meters was ever beneficial. Just gonna get the heart rate up, but the game changer on this event is that it's handstand walks, which is a high-skilled gymnastic movement. We saw the individuals last night complete a very high-skilled handstand course. So we're not seeing a course, but we are seeing handstand walks with elevated heart rate.
There's your top 3. It's Holistic and Invictus up front. 1855 is in 3rd. And then in 4th, just behind them, that's the Ohio Brutes Decorum CrossFit. Of course, had the issues at the West Coast Classic with some heat exhaustion on the 6K ruck. It was 115 degrees that day. It is 72 right now in Madison. So 2.5 mile runs here, separated by the 126-foot handstand walk.
And for for Holistic and for 1855 here, you know, they need a Hail Mary. They're well outside 25th place. They need these points. They need to make a final literal run for this on their feet and their hands.
Holistic's best finish so far this weekend was a 10th place draw at the end of day 1. Tanya, when you strategize this run, you talked about you're limited by your slowest runner. Is this a situation where you play back a little bit to that pace of your slower runner, or where you try to pull that person along knowing that it might cost you in the long run because you could burn whatever gas is in the tank?
It all depends on your slowest runner's handstand walking ability. If they're fantastic on their hands, push them. If they can handle their high heart rate and still get upside down right away and clear that 42-foot section, you're good to go. They are going to treat this, unfortunately, they're going to have to treat this 1.5 miles more like a sprint and go a little more uncomfortable speed, but that's your concern. You just can't have this run damage the handstand walk, and this is the first loop through.
Invictus and Holistic in front right now. And keep in mind, Jen Ryan, the captain for the Invictus team, we've said this a couple of times, she's in the back in the black top on the left side just going off of your screen. She is competing with a boxer's fracture in her left hand. She broke it at the West Coast Classic. It's had about 6 weeks to recover, but she's gonna have to get inverted here and walk on her hands when they get to the handstand walk. They'll have to, as you alluded to earlier, make 2 laps around this course for the 1.5 miles before re-entering to take off on the handstand walk.
And remember, we're saying they're leading, but all these athletes are spread out down the field from their start line, so it's not exact and precise from this standpoint as they come in. We'll get the official once they cross the line. In their lane was where you're gonna see 1 repetition counted for the team, and what's the way the scoring is gonna go. It's gonna be 1 rep per 1.5 mile run, and then you'll also see reps accumulate as each athlete completes their handstand walk in each section.
Now through Sunday, August 1st, you can redeem a free pair of Noble Performance socks with your purchase over $99. Head to nobleproject.com/CrossFit and use the code GAMES at checkout to redeem those socks. It's nobleproject.com/CrossFit. And the Eichstätt Mighty Oaks have now jumped to the front of the pack here. Team from South Africa trying to be the best performing team in the history of that continent. They came in 28th place, so a lot of moving and shaking that the Mighty Oaks would have to accomplish here in events number 8 and 9 to start off a Saturday.
Well, here's the other reason. You know, if you're a team that knows you don't have the strength numbers on the back squats, this, for those athletes so far down on the leaderboard, they really need this because it's damage control for the back squats, which awaits them after this run and handstand walk.
And it's interesting to see the tempo get pushed here this early for Eichstätt. You've got some bigger athletes that run on their team. Jaco Brits is the tall one on the right side, 6'2". He's a big-time rugby athlete. But Callum Diebel, who runs in the front of the pack, is more of their engine. So this gets into your back and forth of whose tempo are you going to run at and who's going to pull who.
I think that's just the communication as they're running. Who needs to kind of back off a little bit? Where can we make a little push? I'm anxious to see if anybody holds the rope differently. You know, it's different if you were coming in to the field for a movement that didn't require so much shoulder strength and stamina, but these athletes are holding the rope. They have that bend in their elbow, so it does cause a little fatigue on one arm. So I'm just anxious if that's going to be anything. They're fantastic, strong athletes, but if you're an athlete that doesn't feel confident with that longer section, I was going to say there's maybe some switching of hands. It would be really smart to do to give your shoulders an even demand.
There's also some switching of the leaders. You can see Holistic and Invictus were at the front of the pack on the first lap here. They have now fallen back, as you've seen Eichstätt and CrossFit I Love It open up, I don't want to say sizable, but comfortable leads here. There's Eichstätt, there's I Love It, who continues to gain ground, and then there's 6 or 7 lengths until the next team.
Well, it is so hard. Running in any CrossFit event is just so hard to dial back. It's so hard to hold back, and this is a long run. 1.5 miles is very long, so I definitely expected to see some jockeying here.
Nine minutes in, this is a 39-minute time-capped event. Consists of 3 miles of run, split up into 2 different runs. And then the handstand walks in 126-foot sections at a time. Unlock yourself with personalized sleep, recovery, and strain insights from Whoop. Head to whoop.com/CrossFit for $30 off of your membership. That is whoop.com/CrossFit. Tanya, there's also so many different insights into running in general, but also running in a CrossFit-specific event. Had the opportunity to talk with Chris Hinshaw, actually back at the West Coast Classic during the ruck race out there, and the way that he broke things down, things that you would never even think about in terms of listening to the breathing patterns of teams as you're passing them, and trying to gauge other teams' paces and just the mind games that go into when am I going to go after somebody? When is I Love It going to make a move here and try to run past Eichstad? It's more than just running a race. There's some psychology here.
Oh, running is all knowing, is being in your lane for your tempo and knowing that, and then also being aware of that. There's so much more to running than we often give credit to, and that's the key there, to see what other teams are doing and see where you can make your move.
Now, Eichstad had the closer spot on the rig, which means they had a longer distance to run at the start, but it also meant that on the return here into North Park, they were the first team to make it to their lane. Mitch Stevenson off in the distance in the white shirt was going at the handstand walk here for I Love It. See these teams go in a single file fashion, which they'll do for each of these sections the first time through. The second time through, they will do the single file fashion until the third segment, when they'll go one at a time, the last athlete wearing the chip timer.
If any of the athletes
there was a no rep there.
Fall down before the no rep, just like we saw there, they need to go back. The whole team can remain, they're safe, but just the athlete that didn't make the walk needs to return to the start. And the team cannot advance until all 4 athletes complete each section.
That was Justin Thompson that had the no rep for I Love It. That now the 11-minute and 30-second segment here in this 39-minute time-capped event. And it starts to get really messy here as all of these teams come into the arena. It pays to be a winner. If you can get out ahead of the pack, be out in front, and have space, it's more comfortable.
It's a lot of people waiting. If there's a no rep, that means the whole team is standing in the next section.
Our first look at CrossFit Mayhem. Chase Hill in front, Rich Froning right behind, then Nisler and Williamson here. Mayhem with a comfortable lead in the overall standings, 120 points at the start of the day. You can only earn 100 points maximum in an event, so they'll be in first place if they finished last here. But they did take their first 2 event losses in the last 2 events, 2nd and a 4th. And if you're other teams, there is they're human aspect to that, Tanya. There has to be, that you feel like you've got a shot.
You do, and there's always so much pressure on them. Everybody's expecting it to look so perfect and be it, but that's the part of the competition where there can be little things that come in. But for these 2 movements, they've been, Rich has been around Chris Hinshaw forever. So you talk about pacing, you talk about any of this, for a team knowing their pace, the fact that they didn't come in first right here shows that they are really under control of their speed, and they know exactly what tempo they need to go now on this second run.
Invictus was out front early. Invictus is out front again here to begin the second run. Oslo as well just beat Invictus out of the North Park. So those are your 2 teams leading the pack, Invictus and the Oslo Wolfpack out of Norway. And we're in 5th place overall to start the day. And as Amanda started off our broadcast today, there has never been a European team on the podium here at the CrossFit Games. Oslo's in the mix for that. Nordic is in the mix for that.
And Oslo is the team that had their first place finish, who did beat Mayhem yesterday in the sprint bob. So running is definitely something they are expected now to do well.
At least sprinting.
Well, maybe we'll see that now. Sprint your mile and a half.
Ingrid Hodenmer is at the front of the pack here. Leanna Richter is the female athlete just behind her. Marius Pedersen and Einvid Dahlringrad are the 2 male athletes on the inside. That's Pedersen at the front. That's a team that all trains with Kristen Holta, the individual 2nd place finisher at the CrossFit Games back in 2019, and they all share the same coaches as well. And Tanya, we talked about this yesterday. How many teams have true coaches like we see on the individual side? The Oslo Wolfpack, they've got one.
Well, and that's it. A lot of times they have a coach, but really to be, or they have a leader on their team that's kind of making some of the calls, but you don't hear as much of the coaching of the team side. But there is so much in the team. You have that person keeping eyes on you for all those little details. It can be really helpful to have an outside pair of eyes rather than having just a captain make all the calls.
Not surprisingly, Invictus also has coaches. They are in 2nd right now. If you like watching the CrossFit Games, wait until you try it yourself. Find your local affiliate on the Finder map. With over 12,000 affiliates in the world, there is a place for you at map.crossfit.com. 15 minutes gone by, 39 minutes on the clock for this event. This is the second mile-and-a-half run. It is 2 laps on this course. This is the first lap for these teams. You would imagine, you alluded to this earlier, that Invictus will make a move here at some point. Just a slow, steady pace right now for your overall leader through 7 events. First team ever to win the first 5 events. First team ever to win every event on the first day. Just waiting for the team that's going to grab a Warrior Bowl as they're running through the concessions area out here. Come back in eating some acai.
A little more aggressive pace now on this second run.
It's a rookie team in CrossFit Oslo as they make their way back toward North Park. There's Invictus, far more veteran group. Invictus, remember, off the top right now, outside the cut that will happen after these 2 events. Top 20 teams move on. Invictus is in 21st place, 8 points behind Backcountry Black, and we have not seen the team from Colorado right now.
And the hard part for them is even when they get back for the handstand walks, they're nowhere near each other. They're on opposite ends of the field.
Oslo's a team that's a collection of some pretty phenomenal individuals. We said rookie at this level as a team, but they did have 2 individuals qualify for the individual quarterfinals, so they had a chance to go the individual route to try to get here to the games. That's Richter and Pedersen. Turned those opportunities down to compete on the team side. And giving themselves a chance to podium. Again, in 5th place overall. They were in 9th place after day 1.
They've had 5 out of 7 top 10 finishes. They had a 15th place finish on that swim kayak, but really their worst place was a 25th. They were tied with that wall walk thruster event, but other than that, really consistent over the broad scheme of things and all the wide variety of tests that they've been through already.
So Oslo, the first team that comes back into North Park here as they depart on their 2nd lap for this mile-and-a-half run. And now here's plus 64 CrossFit. 3rd in the run and also 3rd overall, Tanya. They've surpassed Invictus. But keep in mind, Invictus was one of the fastest teams on their hands on the first handstand walks. If you're the 6'4" Army Gold, though, plus 6'4" CrossFit, you're looking at where you are in the standings, and you're looking at where that team is in the standings. A 120-point lead on the overall leaderboard for Mayhem is very commanding, but anywhere you can chip away, you're wanting to put as many teams between you and the team in white and red.
It's Saturday. There's only one more day. The teams are going to drop to 20 after this morning's event. So it is important on the leaderboard and to get those points here. And they're in 3rd right now.
You talked about how you change hands on the rope, by the way. It looked like we just saw some limbo as Oslo was passing the rope back and forth.
Coming about 19.5 minutes in.
Almost 20 minutes in. 39-minute time cap event. CBD MD is the CBD that you can trust. Visit cbdmd.com/CrossFit and use the promo code CrossFit to get 30% off of your order today. Tanya, the time cap becomes a big factor because if the time cap is not met, there will be a 3-minute break between this event and the next event. If the time cap comes into play, we go straight into event number 9. Now, if you've already finished, all good, you've had the time to rest. But if you're one of the teams that's still out there on the course, potentially somewhere on the run, not in the North Park, your clock starts for event 9. That's only if we hit the 39-minute time cap.
And going into those back squats after a 3-mile run, you know, you want that rest. You want as much as you can there to get a little recovery.
See Urban Energy. That's the team with the Van Zils on it. Caitlin Van Zyl, an individual athlete a couple of years ago in 2019. We showed you plus 6'4" CrossFit. And then Oslo right now leading the way here on the run in 5th place. And not that far out of podium position.
No, but for some of those teams, I have some concerns for them when we go over to the back squat event. You know, they're not the strongest teams when we look back to the quarterfinals and where the athletes placed with their front squat 4-rep max. Now, it's a different movement, but still in comparison, you know, Nordic, Urban Energy, plus 6'4", they're on the bottom half of the teams.
But Oslo's on the upper half.
Yeah, they are, and so that's big for Oslo to move them up into podium contention.
Leanna Richter and Ingrid Hodenmyr were both on the Norwegian team that actually won the World Championships in functional fitness. So this is their first opportunity to compete on this stage at the CrossFit Games, but no strangers to pressure when it comes to moving like this. Eikstad led the way early. There are the Mighty Oaks from South Africa. Looks like that's CrossFit Ganas, who kind of fell off the face after yesterday. They were in 3rd place overall and were giving Mayhem a run for their money after day 1. But then a 36th place to close out day 2 has dropped them to 6th on the overall leaderboard, still in the hunt, but not where they wanted to be. This is Eikstad up front. Oslo continues to lead the pack. Watch for the first time ever 2 CrossFit legends, Josh Bridges and Jacob Heppner, enter a trial by combat on September 18th for only $14.99 on pay-per-view. Get your pay-per-view ticket now at coresports.world and use the code CrossFit at checkout for 10% off. Josh Bridges, Jacob Heppner, Tanya Wagner, who you got?
That is not, I don't know. I don't have a favorite on that one. I really don't. Man, I can make an argument for both men. I can't wait. I'm just going to fangirl out on that one.
With all due respect to Jacob, I'm taking the seal.
So these athletes, you know, they're not looking to keep their ankles warm. Those knee sleeves on their legs are because they're going to go to the back squat event next. You're not really sure how much time you're going to have, so they have as much of their needed gear on them as possible.
Just figured it was a sock statement.
And ladies and gentlemen of the North Park,
coming back into the North Park here for the handstand walk. 126 more feet broken up into 3 different sections of 42 feet in length. Now, we said the first time through on the handstand walks, it will be a little bit different here on the second. You're going to go in a relay as a team of 4 on the first 2 sections, but on the third, your athletes will go 1 at a time. Everyone has to cross before your final athlete crosses wearing the chip timer. So the first 2 lengths will look a little bit different than the third. There's Mayhem Freedom still on the outside. We have 4 teams right now inside North Park attempting these handstand walks. These must be unbroken.
You can change the order, so each section does not have to be the same. You choose who you want to send, and what you're going to do is you're going to make sure that your athlete that needs more time goes last.
Oslo still in the hunt here, looking for their second event win of the weekend. Their first one that they will know at the time, because their event win yesterday was awarded after a scoring change after the fact.
And now as they come through, it's the final walk.
Oslo, 1 down, 2 down. Oslo with all 4 athletes down and across. That is an event win, unofficially in 25 minutes, 30 some odd seconds.
What gets sketchy is when you have an athlete who makes it just under the, right there, they do the fall, the hands cross the line, they drop their legs, but if you're too close to them, that can definitely impact.
In the meantime, CrossFit Mayhem has made a move right down the middle of the field. Rich Froning just finished. Andrea Nisler is in front. Taylor Williamson is quite literally on her heels. Taylor Williamson kicks down, and CrossFit Mayhem winds up finishing towards the front of the pack. After all of that, we said they'd make a move. It came. Time cap does not appear to be an issue for any of these teams. 39 minutes is what they've got to deal with. Invictus just came across there on your screen. We still do have a couple of teams coming back into the North Park that have yet to begin their handstand walks, competing these 42-foot sections unbroken.
And the pressure is on when you have those last sections, when we're racing.
And here's backcountry, Tanya. They're in a world of hurt with an 8-point advantage clear of the cut line. They are in terrible trouble. Backcountry came in 20th place. 20 teams will advance past events 8 and 9, the next event that will immediately follow. And Heather Gamble, the one they call Mama Heather, trying to coax her team through. They could have the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. 2 of their teammates got engaged on the Coliseum floor last night. You don't want your day to end here.
But looking at the clock, the time's just not on their side.
Here is backcountry. Zoe Warren just scooting across your screen. And now Heather Gamble, this team's head coach, 2-time alternate on the games teams from backcountry in 2015 and 2018. Backcountry, of course, a veteran games team. This is their 5th appearance. But none of these athletes have ever been here before, trying to build upon the legacy of their home gym in Littleton. And Heather Gamble is across. And John Wood hits the ground running. It was John Wood and Zoe Warren that were engaged yesterday. There goes Zoe Warren. And now Heather Gamble will take a deep breath here before she goes. So much on the line here for backcountry. Now there are still a couple of teams that have just come back into North Park. So while Backcountry Black is one of the last teams currently handstand walking, there are teams that are now entering in behind them.
And Lone Star is one of them here. They're in 19th place, just above Backcountry, so that's big for Backcountry.
The Mighty Oaks from Eichstätt. Remember, they were at the front of the pack on the first run as Heather Gamble just finishes for Backcountry. Eichstätt has just started handstand walking.
They were the last team out by a long shot the first time they came through, so
Timberwolf CrossFit is also one of the teams working through their handstand walks. This is inner limit in 17th place overall. They will have a bottom third finish. And we just had a giant gasp with Eichstad just failing a handstand walk.
So for Invictus, who came in at 21st, this is for them. They're watching this, and they're thankful because these are the teams above them on the leaderboard.
Timberwolf CrossFit now with 2 athletes across their second to last section. Female from Timberwolf picking up and looking strong on her
Timberwolf pushing through here.
She's there in Army Creek dance with just a few feet to go.
Samantha Nally and Ellen Rank are the 2 women that compete for the team out of St. Paul, Minnesota. And jumped the gun there and started a little bit too soon. As Timberwolf begins to file across the line. And Eichstad does get a successful completion there from Nadine Roos. Meantime, this is Timberwolf. And Timberwolf does come across.
Making noise for the team from St. Paul, Minnesota, Timberwolf CrossFit finishing up.
Nadine Roos. And it's interesting to note, as far as she's concerned here, actually tore up her thumb, and you can see the tape on her hand. Tore up her thumb in a rugby match right before the quarterfinals. Eichstad wasn't even sure if she would be 100% here at the CrossFit Games. Go walk unbroken on your hands, and then fail a rep and have to go do it again. Nadine Roos gutting this out here for the team from South Africa.
And when you need all those little muscles, all those little balance points, and all your fingers, the demand is great. She's so close.
There's either some agony or some ecstasy or a combination of the both there for Nadine Roos. Finishes that length, and now she's got to do it again.
She does, and unfortunately for her, she's not wearing the chip timer, so she will have to go ahead of Mariska, and that, you can, she's not ready. She needs a little more time. Now Mariska was waiting, but she's wearing the timer, so we'll see. She's still breathing pretty hard, and that was a struggle those last couple feet. Now at this point, they know they're last. They get 1 attempt each, and they will get capped if they don't complete their final handstand walks.
This team from Western Cape, South Africa is still one of the youngest teams here. They're actually the 3rd youngest team, only 26 years of age. This is the very beginning of their CrossFit Games journey, and how about the guts for Nadine Roos?
What guts there. That was fantastic focus.
Eichstad is capped after Roos falls on that handstand walk rep.
And that's going to allow these athletes now to have a little 3-minute shuffle, kind of reset, get themselves over